Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kenny Isari Jr. together with Miss Rinalyn Akar, and today we are going to report about Chapter 16 of Rizal's life in Belgian Brussels, 1890. Brief background: Brussels is the capital of Belgium. But before that, Rizal lived in Paris, France. But with two main reasons, Rizal chose to leave Paris, France, and the two main reasons were number one, high cost of living due to the Universal Exposition, and number two is disrupting social life, hindering literary work. So Rizal decided to leave Paris and go to Brussels. Let's talk about Jose Rizal's life in Brussels. Jose lived in a modest boarding house with Jose Albert and later replaced by Jose Alejandro. He focused on writing El Filibusterismo and articles for La Solidaridad. He engaged in physical activities such as gymnastics, target practice, and fencing. And he was frugal and dedicated enough that he shared meals with roommates to save money. And he was committed to his studies and writing despite financial constraints. He is also a political activist that he continued to expose Spanish colonial abuses through La Solidaridad and advocated for Filipino rights and reforms. With his advocacy, Rizal wrote articles that he published in La Solidaridad. The first one is A la Defensa on April 30, 1889. It replies to Spanish author Patricio de la Escosura's anti-Filipino writing. The second one is La Verdad para Todos. On May 31, 1889, it defends native local officials against Spanish charges of ignorance. The third one is Vicente Barantes, Teatro Tagalog, June 15 on the same year. It exposed Barantes' ignorance of Tagalog theatrical art. The fourth one is Una Profanacion. On July 31, 1889, it criticizes the friars for denying Christian burial to Mariano Herbosa. The fifth one is Verdades Nuevas on July 31 on the same year. It replies to Vicente Belloc Sanchez's letter that defended the friars' rule. The next one is Crueldad on August 15 on the same year, defends Blumentritt from attacks by his enemies. Next, Diferencias on September 15, 1889. It replies to an article that ridiculed Filipinos seeking reforms. Another one is Inconsecuencia on November 30, 1889. It defends Antonio Luna against Pablo Mer Diaz attacks. And second to the last one is Leanto Iresas, November 30, 1889. It denounces Spanish racial prejudice against Filipinos. And the last one is Ingratitudes on January 15, 1890. It criticizes Governor General Wheeler for accusing Filipinos of ingratitude. Let's proceed to the new orthography of Tagalog language. Rizal was the first one to advocate for the Filipinization of Tagalog orthography. He used the new orthography in his translations of Schiller's Wilhelm Tell and Andersen's Fairy Tales and In Nole Me Tangere. He published Sobre la Nueva Ortografía de la Lingua Tagala, or the new orthography of the Tagalog language, in La Solidaridad on April 15, 1890. He gave credit for the new orthography to Dr. Trinidad Pardo de Tavera. Rizal's other activities in Belgium were he received news from Juan Luna and Valentin Ventura about gambling habits of Filipinos in Madrid. He wrote to Marcelo H. del Pilar to urge Filipinos in Madrid to stop gambling and focus on their work for the Philippines' freedom. Speaking of gambling and moralizing, gambling Filipinos in Madrid were angry and called Rizal Papa or Pope. In the Philippines, there was Calamba agrarian troubles. Rizal received letters from home about the worsening situation in Calamba. The Dominican hacienda raised land rents, leading to tenant refusal to pay. The Dominican order sued the Rizal family to dispossess them of their lands. Rizal's family and other tenants were persecuted. Pasiano, Antonio Lopez, Silvestre Ubaldo, and Manuel Tihidalgo were deported or banished. When he knew the situation in Calamba, these were Rizal's reactions and premonitions. Rizal was saddened by the news and wrote to his sister Soledad expressing his concern for his family. Rizal had bad dreams and feared for his life, though not afraid of death itself. He wanted to finish his literary works before his potential demise. And for the continuation of our report, Miss Rinalyn will do it. And that's all for me, and thank you.
Rizal's preparation to go home. In the face of the sufferings which afflicted his family, Rizal decided to go back home. He could not stay in Brazil writing a book where his family in the Philippines, as well as his friends and relatives, were persecuted. Upon learning Rociano Lopez Haina's plan going to Cuba, Rizal wrote Ponce on July 9, 1890, stating his opposition on Rociano's plan and that Rociano Lopez Haina should go back to the Philippines and fight for our country. In another letter to Ponce on July 18, 1890, Rizal expressed his determination in going back home, and all of his friends, including Blometrit, Jose Maria Basa, and Ponce himself, warned him of the danger that awaits in going back home. Rizal's decision to go to Madrid. Rizal decided to go to Madrid after receiving a letter from Pasiano about their family's legal case against the Dominicans, which had reached the Supreme Court in Spain. Despite warning from his friends, Rizal prioritized addressing the case and informed Marcelo H. del Pilar and Ponce that he is leaving Brazil at the beginning of August 1890. To my muse poem. This poem was written by Rizal during a period of personal anguish while he was in Brussels. This poem reflects his emotional struggles and frustration as if he faced challenges in both personal and fight for justice in the Philippines. Romance with Petit Jacobi. During his stay abroad, Rizal developed a romantic relationship with Petit Jacobi, the niece of his landlady. Despite their closeness, Rizal upheld his principles, maintaining dignity and honesty in their interactions. On the other hand, Petit Jacobi expresses her deep affection and longing to Rizal through heartfelt letters. So that would be all our report. Thank you.